Hi, my name is Karina Akidal. I'm the managing editor of Canadian Auto Dealer, and I'm here with Eugene Ng, partner at MNP, and also works in the cybersecurity department. So, Eugene, considering the COVID situation and the ramp up for cybersecurity threats and attacks, I know we're looking at some new cybersecurity attacks, threats that dealers should be aware of, some of them having to do with voice. So I'm wondering if maybe you can share with us what those are exactly and what dealers need to be aware of now and moving forward.
Sure, Karina. Thanks. So what we're seeing now is just with the remote workforce, like you had mentioned, a lot more, remote transactions are being completed, and so the cyber criminals are expanding their threat attack vector by not only using kind of the traditional, email phishing campaigns and business email compromise, but we're seeing actual voice attacks. So synthetic voice generation, artificial intelligence voice, calling organizations to initiate some of this business email compromise or other fraudulent scams and campaigns. In fact, I think in 2019, it was the first recorded synthetic voice or voice AI generated attack against an organization. I think they lost about 200,000 pounds or euros as part of that campaign.
Wow, so this is pretty significant. Now, dealers may think, well, those are big organizations. Maybe they're not targeting dealerships. Would you say otherwise?
I would. I mean, we're not seeing them hugely in the wild, right? But again, with this remote workforce, I mean, personally, I feel we're going to see more and more of them occur. It doesn't necessarily have to be these huge sums of money transfers either. A lot of dealerships contain a lot of sensitive information about individuals, their credit risk profile, personal information. Some dealerships we've seen even have people's credit cards on file. So it could be any kind of this information to try to extract out of those organizations, and then maybe to leverage that information on other types of scams against that individual.
Is there anything that these dealers can do that's, we can say, maybe relatively low budget to protect themselves from these scams, at least during COVID?
One of the easiest things to do is just call somebody back, right? So we've heard that a lot of times, even with your phishing email for bank account information, or when people are calling you at home saying they're from the CRA. It's no different than getting a fraudulent call, at a dealership for someone that's pretending to be either a customer or some third party. The easiest thing is, look up what that organization contact details on the website, hang up the phone and call the individual back and have a discussion over the phone.
Good. Now, I'd like to actually jump to another topic, and perhaps they're connected, you'll let us know. But we've been hearing a lot about the dark web, and so I understand there's a threat to dealers. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what dealers actually need to know about that.
So the dark web is essentially just a collection of underground forums that are buying and selling, threat information, credentials, passwords, credit card numbers, anything that can be used to try to leverage for financial gain. What we're seeing with some dealerships is really the publishing of credentials and other information belonging to those dealerships. So, or any organization for that matter. Really, what people should be doing is, changing their passwords on a regular basis. If you're aware that your password has been compromised at a third-party, website or other organization, make sure you don't reuse those passwords. There's a number of tools out there where you can randomly generate a password, right, store it in a secure password safe, so that you don't reuse them and they're lengthy enough that people aren't going to be able to guess them.
Well, Eugene, do you have any parting words or advice for dealers as they enter this second wave of COVID-19? Any words that they can use to kind of move through this next stretch, we'll say?
Yeah, I think, as dealers, expand their online offerings and expand the ability to do, no touch services, digital transactions, I think to reduce the risk is to put in some manual processes, like I was saying before, about phone calls or verifying identification, or even just a manual process to, if it's over a certain sum, that you have somebody else validate that transaction. So little things like that, just to reduce the risk, I would say is something important to keep in mind.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Eugene, for taking the time to do this interview. And as always, I wish you and your family good health and safety during this difficult period.
Thanks, Karina.